How has biomimicry transformed my life? Biomimicry has been more than transformative for my life. I was working for a nonprofit in Cairo, Egypt, that worked on environmental education. We did outdoor educational trips for youth and high schoolers and university students. And every year we would put together a really large event on World Environment Day. And the theme of that particular year was biodiversity. And my role for that was to try and link biodiversity to technology. I took the task and started doing my research and came across the term biomimicry. And, I'm a biologist, so the term biomimicry was not unknown to me. But biomimicry in that, nature inspired innovation was totally new to me. I got obsessed and went down this rabbit hole of research. And unbeknownst to me, there was a whole world. There was Janine Benyus and her book and the TED Talks. And I started, I watched them all. I spent, I want to say, about 18 hours nonstop researching that one day. I forgot about the work that I was actually tasked to do. And I was like, how do I get involved with this? Like, how can this be what I do? And so I started researching and I came across the website, which then was called Biomimicry Guild. And I found out that there's an actual program, a 2-year program, very competitive. And I'm like, there's no way that they're going to choose me. I mean, I'm a keen learner, but I wasn't like the top of my class or anything like that. So I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get this. And I applied and I got it. And not only did I get it, I also got a scholarship. And just embarked on this incredible journey that for 2 years, got me so close to 15 other interested biomimics. And, we went into these different ecosystems and learned about them from the local ecologists and naturalists and the local organisms as well. What was the pivotal moment for me? So the first immersion was in Tucson. That was a really life-changing moment. In that place, we were taught by incredible ecologists about this very resilient ecosystem that is housed to the giant saguaros and all sorts of different critters and organisms. But anyway, Dayma, who is the instructor, made us have this visualization. We start this visualization, which is supposed to put us 5 years into the future. And she paints a picture of going into the future and thinking of what our life would be. And it got very emotional for me, and it actually got really weird because the visualization got quite ugly and gory and bloody, and there's a lot of life lost. But ironically, even though it was very emotional, I got out of it feeling this is a positive thing. And I didn't understand what it was. And I started bawling at the end of it, like when we had to reflect back. I didn't share anything. It was a weird kind of emotion. But anyway, we left the trip. It was still wonderful. And I got back to Egypt. And I arrived back to Cairo on 25th of January 2011. And if you are keeping track with the news, this was day one of the Egyptian revolution. I basically was thrown head on. Millions of people protesting in the street. I did not sleep. I was about to fall asleep. I was woken up by my building shaking from the millions of people that were in the street chanting for removal of the president. We wanted to change the system. And I went down. And then that visualization started making sense, which was people did die. People were shot at. It was a very difficult, 2 weeks, 18 days of protests and trying to change things. But at the same time that this is happening, I'm learning about how we can have a different system, how we can learn from nature, how nature could be this teacher and we could create something new. I'm getting emotional thinking back at it because it was just such a transformative part of this whole experience. And so alongside this really hard, difficult time and seeing the harshness of life and politics and so forth, there's also at the same time this opportunity that we could actually change things. And I was being equipped with tools of how that could be. What has my life been like since becoming a biomimicry? As I was starting my training in biomimicry, I was actually starting and setting up my own business. I had been fired from my previous business because the economy wasn't doing well. And what's incredible about the biomimicry training is that One aspect of our training is not just learning from nature, but it's also learning from engineering, from design and business. And so I actually felt very empowered and emboldened to be able to do that. It didn't feel so ridiculous that a biologist would start their own business because I was learning about it. So myself and a dear friend and other biologist called Betty Puri, we were like, okay, we're going to start our own thing. We decided to start Dayma. So Dayma in Arabic means everlasting. And we had experience working with youth and we wanted to continue in that path, but we wanted to expose them to the natural world. And so we started creating educational trips in different ecosystems across Egypt. Part of it was learning from nature. Part of it was self-discovery, so how to overcome your own insecurities and issues and explore who you are. And the third pillar was community and learning about local communities and interacting with them and building community. And so that was one thing that came out of my education with biomimicry. The second thing that's directly related is Nawaya, which is another enterprise that works with small-scale farming communities. And the idea was, with the impetus of the revolution and wanting to make changes, one of the biggest challenges in Egypt is poverty. People are poor and don't have access to food. And so given that we have such an important agricultural history, we were a group of us thinking, how can we change this? How can we do things different? How do we bring back traditions? How do we look at these different systems that optimize on these ecosystems? And so we created Nawaya. We're part of the Slow Food Network. And so it's really growing. What is my vision for the future? I'm a gardener, and so it's always amazed that, like, I just had my tomatoes right now harvested, and every tomato fruit is just full of seeds inside. When we think of our human design world, it's very much about this efficiency, and we don't want redundancy, and we want it to all be so absolutely efficient. Nature doesn't function like that. It's all bountiful and abundant. So how can we create that beautiful bounty? How can we create these conditions that are conducive to more life? So the word regenerative really resonates with me. I think the vision for me is that we change this mindset and be more regenerative and create spaces where it is about creating positivity, be it on a physical level or even on an emotional level, where we just create positive spaces. And I think that's one of the beauties I think I've always liked about biomimicry, is that it's a very hopeful space. It isn't, it's about the opportunities that are out there, and the solutions are all around us. Lastly, I'm quite excited to have started this new position as co-director of the Biomimicry Center at Arizona State University. And the reason is that this is a space that is one of its kind. If you ever get a chance to pass by Arizona, come down to Tempe and check it out. We have a nature-inspired space, which is really awesome. But other than the physical space, we are one of a kind in that there aren't many programs around the world that are offering educational programs in biomimicry. And it's very exciting to be in the cusp of the space as nature-inspired innovations start taking hold in the world. TU is currently the #1 school in the United States in innovation. And so it makes sense that we would also have a program in biomimicry. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing in the coming years.